Welcome to the Cool Girls Create podcast. I'm your host, T. Westbrook, and this is where we celebrate entrepreneurship, creativity, and unstoppable women. Join me as we dive deep into inspiring stories. Let's explore the art of business and the business of art. Cool Girls Create podcast, empowering women to create, innovate, and succeed.
And today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about PR, y'all. We're going to be talking about putting yourself out there when it comes to your business, how to promote yourself, how to grow your audience and those types of things. And I'm here with none other than Monchiere of Mojo Marketing. So go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself and let's get into it.
I love it. Well, thank you for having me. Look, I'm trying to be friends with all the Gen Zers, all the young millennials. I'm an OG millennial, so I definitely trying to stay young. So thank you for having me. I am Monchiere Holmes Jones, Mojo Marketing and PR. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. So we're basically serving the whole U.S. So anywhere from New Orleans to the West Coast, we're out and about working with clients. And so excited to be on the show.
Yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here. Okay.
Right.
So let's talk about PR. Why PR? Why are you in this industry?
So I learned early on, I'm talking about like 14 years old, that I was a talker, right? So I knew that I love to talk. I love to engage with people, extrovert, and then an introvert at times, but extrovert for sure. And so early on, I'm talking about 14, I went to my mom and was like, hey, I want to be a news anchor. And my mom was like, oh, okay, great mother. She's passed on, but she would be, oh, I'll call and see if I can get you an internship. So at 14 years old, I was a gopher at a news station. She called and see if they had summer roles for a gopher. My mama was like that. She would figure out what options there were and cultivate those for you, whatever you said. And as such, that started me on the track of understanding. Got to college at Xavier University and knew I was going to get into PR, but also still wanted that anchor role. Got to experience a couple of different things, but realized I love amplifying. Didn't know that's what the word was then, but I knew I liked when people told me their creativity and they expressed themselves, that I wanted to tell other people about it. So I was the good gossiper, if that makes sense. And so the good gossiper told all the good stuff. Senior year, we had to do a little mini thesis at HBCU, and we had about 40 people in the PR program. And everybody was supposed to decide who would they be a publicist for and why, but explain how would they run a campaign. And I chose Nelson Mandela. And it was all she wrote. I remember being talked to by professors, and I had a great college career where I interned at multiple agencies, was the first Black at many in New Orleans. And I remember one of my colleagues, who's an infamous news anchor right now with CNN, came up, and he's a good friend, and he said, "Dang, that's dope. Nelson Mandela, I wouldn't even thought of that." And then he said, why? And he said, why you chose that and not Beyonce? I said, because he's changing the world. I want to amplify voices of people who's changing the world, right? And I knew that then, even young and impressionable still as a college student, that I wanted to do that type of work, but couldn't, again, it had to grow and articulate. Anyway, fast forward, that's why PR. PR was telling people good gossip. And I wanted to be a part of good gossip. I wanted to see people who were good people. I knew a lot of good people. I know a lot of good people. And sometimes if I put 20 of the people I know in my life in a room, honey, we could probably call the president. Hello? And that's just connections, And so understanding how connections work and how to connect with people, it came natural to me. And it was all she wrote. I was great. Again, got the experience from multiple agencies, working on the agency side back in the 2000s when Black people were still hardly in the advertising, marketing, and PR space. Mm-hmm. And fast forward, I've worked for 5 Fortune 500s, both in advertising, marketing, and PR. So that was another thing. My degree was in PR, but my work was in the full agency life. So God was very strategic in blessing me with all the skill sets to run my own agency someday. And now we're here 9 years later.
That's the segue into my next question. It's so you knew early on that you wanted to be in the good gossip industry, right? Or you developed that idea, as you went on to HBCU college, whoop whoop. And
you.
yes. And so what was it that made you want to transition into running your own business when it comes to PR? Was there a pivotal moment? Was it a buildup? Was it always in the plan? What was it for you?
I got to be honest, it was always in the plan. Again, one of my greatest gifts is my parents. Greatest gifts. And ain't no perfect raising, and ain't no perfect parents, and they're perfect kids. And I definitely was not a perfect kid. And so, but I was blessed, hindsight, to know my dad had his own business. He was doing truck driving, teaching people how to truck drive on the side on the weekends. And I was helping him. And I, again, telling everybody, my daddy got a business, he knows I was a talker, and I was getting allowance, my cousin and I, for helping him get the paperwork together. And that kind of gave me the bug, the early on. I got jobs at 14 years old, not just to go for a job. I came with another job. I was like, I want to work. And, I mean, seriously, I wasn't, we were not well off, but we were not poor. And so with that, also wanting a job, hindsight, it's kind of like, it was God putting it in me for real, because my parents were not saying, go get a job. They was just looking at me like, what you talking about? You want a job? Fast forward, I got my first check and I wrote on the back, and I still own it. I have it framed upstairs. I was working at a wave pool, by a state park wave pool where they do the waves. Mm-hmm. And I wrote all the businesses I want to own. It was probably my second or third season working there. I worked every summer there. And I wrote it on the back, all the businesses I want to own. And I kept that. And I remember when I was going to high school, I was like, I'm going to own all these businesses. And it's variations. They've evolved since. There was a wedding company. There was all this different things. But it all tied back to some of the stuff I've done today. And I don't think I said PR, but I know I wanted to earn a firm or something like that, like have our own firm. So after college, I knew I had to work. I knew I needed to get the experience. So entrepreneurship was not in my mindset. About 3 or 4 years in, Katrina hit, and I was living in Detroit, Michigan, and had to go home. My husband and I, who was my boyfriend then, our parents lived 6 blocks from each other, and had to go home and help them. And that's when I realized I'm gonna need to do my own thing. I'm definitely gonna need to do that. It was because I needed the flexibility, but I also needed the experience. So there was fear set in, like, you ain't got the time or the experience right now. You need to work. Yeah. So I kept the work going up until about Katrina hit in 2005. It was 2008 that bug hit, and I started doing out freelancing, somewhat work. And then it was 2011 when in January, where I was like, it was my first non-corporate job. I had taken a job to help reestablish a brand, a HBCU brand actually, and it was Babylon, the most beautiful place you would ever be. But it was also Babylon. Okay. And it was my first time. And I was like, January 1, I went in there and was like, you know what? It was January 2nd because I had to work the day after New Year's. And I was like, nah, I think I'm good. And literally gave like that day, the whole thing, like whole shebang. Here we go. Yeah. And I had been freelancing. I had done the community work. I was well known, and I am well known for serving, and servant leadership has been the benefit of my success. 100%. And as a result of that, I could pick up the phone any day and call people and be like, hey, can I, or do you know, and that, or I have this that I want to do. Is it possible? Right. And as such, I got a gig doing some contract work, working on a government contractor, helping them to market. And that was for the first client I had for my business. And then I also worked with Sally Ann Roberts and rep for her. Sally Ann Roberts is Robin Roberts' sister. So Good Morning American, Robin Roberts' sister.
Okay.
She was the first sister to be in news, also the first Black woman to be in the news in Mississippi, which was huge. So Robin followed in her footsteps, and she is one of the most popular people in news anchors. Like we have popular news anchors here and other places. Yeah. She's that in New Orleans. And so I was her rep. And then it's all she wrote.
Yeah, you touched on so many things that resonate with me, and I've had conversations internally, but I think this is a good time to like hash this out on the podcast. But so for me, my dad worked in corporate America in IT, and my mom, she did a number of things, and both of them did like entrepreneurial things. When I was growing up, my mom was very creative. She would go make like baskets for different holidays and go buy all the stuff, make like 50 baskets, and then it sold out in like one day. And she would have us doing that, helping her, at 6, 7, 8 years old. And I had no idea what entrepreneurship was. My dad had his own tax business since I can remember. So now he has, hundreds of clients. But it's like when I went to college, my mind was get a job, work in corporate America, get a salary, da 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 da. And it wasn't the pivotal moment for me into transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship was that I was playing with my passion a little bit. Like it's a little bit different when I'm thinking about your experience, because you knew what your gift was and you kind of leaned into that as you matriculated through life. Right. For me, it was like a wake up moment. It was like, I'm stressed out at work. I worked in corporate finance. So I'm stressed out. I'm breaking out into hives. I have my little side hustles, but what's stopping me from just going for my passion? Right. And so it was like a wake up moment. So when I'm having these conversations, it's like, whatever you're passionate about, or whatever gift God gives you, or whoever you believe in gives you early on, if you lean into it and nurture it, this is what happens. It's inevitable that you'll have something that can outlast, the test of time, or something that you can build from, over time.
Yeah, I think everybody's looking for that one thing and one thing only. And I've always, that's not possible. It's not possible. There will be only 1 year of life if you only have one thing. And that's not that you're multifaceted or that you have the jack of all trades. It's not that. Things require, you need one to level up to the other. And so be okay with that. And it may be baking cakes tomorrow, and then it may be designing a home because of you baking the cake. You never know the range. And it doesn't always have to be creative. It could be very much technical. It could be that I manage IT, but I also understand the structures of completing forms, and I can run a tax business, right? And tax is seasonality. I would say this. A lot of people say, I don't know mine. You do know it. You know it. You know what it is? It's what you wanted to be when you were in kindergarten. Yep. What they asked you, that question, that's what it is. And guess what? That doesn't mean that's the end of it. And what I wanted to be, I knew I wanted to be a news anchor because our first grade teacher built a TV box out of a box. And we all had to come up with a commercial. And I remember being so excited about that project. And I was very much an ABC student. I had a rough life from my mom was very ill when I was growing up. And so she was absent a lot because of that. And I remember just being so excited about her being home and able to come up with a commercial. And I came up with a toothpaste commercial. And my daddy took a piece of paper and wrote the toothpaste brand on top of a real toothpaste box. And I was going to be in the box like all the other kids. And that excited I can still feel the excitement to this day because it's one of my, what do they say on TikTok? It's one of those cloud 9 moments those memories that you're going to, core memories that I'm going to remember forever. And I remember being so excited, whereas before in first grade, kid you not, I used to be like looking to cheat on somebody's paper because I wasn't connected. I would be what is a test? What you writing on? I remember sitting on the front row like, what is she writing? What am I writing? Like not being connected because of personal things going on at home. Now that I know that, but that triggered me, and that beget I want to be on TV. Oh, I want to be a news anchor. Oh, and then I met a news anchor. Then I definitely wanted to be a news anchor, and it just grew. And I ran away from the news anchor thing. That's a whole nother story. That was a runaway. That wasn't, I don't want to be that. That was me running because of fear. So don't let fear decide your decisions on purpose. You see what I'm saying? Purpose is stronger than fear.
Exactly.
So look, ain't nothing been perfect. It sounds perfect, but it ain't. If you fear is not the strongest thing. We think fear is. We think anything that is attached to fear is the strongest thing. No, purpose is the strongest thing. Be scared of purpose. Revere God in that manner, whoever your God is.
Yes, I agree. And just to piggyback off what you were saying about, all of your life experiences, they build you into a one-of-a-kind person. So, like you said, you could be baking cakes today, but that experience could help you, be designing something totally different tomorrow. And for me, all of the experiences that I had, my first job, I was have you heard of Girls Inc. from like the YWCA? It's a program for I was a program teacher. So I dealt with a bunch of, it was teenage girls, I'll never forget. And I had to design a program for them for the summer that they would have to, have a curriculum and all that. And I was a dance teacher. So I would teach them dance and mix it in with, I lived in Memphis. So it was a little rough in the area. So that was my first job. That gave me my first taste of being in the nonprofit world or doing something outside of a traditional job. So, and then working in corporate America. So all these things, they build you up into who you are. So just lean into that and embrace the journey, like you were saying.
Yep.
Okay, so let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about some PR stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, so a lot of the cool girls that listen, they are passionate about a business that they have or they're starting. And so I want to talk a little bit about having a small business and not necessarily having a huge budget to market it, but what are some core things that you can touch on that would be, good advice for someone with a small business and they're wanting to take the, scale and grow it and grow their audience?
Yeah, I would definitely say this. So you can amplify right now. That's first things first. You can make noise about your business right now. So sometimes it's about understanding that you don't have to wait. Well, I remember starting mine. I may have known marketing, branding, advertising, PR all day long and be versed to the point of no return. But the business structure stuff was it's like science, right? Mm-hmm. And so we were like, oh, I need this to do this. My girlfriend loaned me. I was, again, broke when I launched my business because I just walked off that job. Remember I told you I just walked off? Mm-hmm. And so I borrowed $200 from my girlfriend to get business cards and get a logo done, child. This is 2011. Shout out to her. And as a result, we're here now, $1 million business, but that's another story. But as we get to that, I realized that I could have amplified in other ways at that moment versus just, I can't do anything till I have a business card. Yeah, you need a business card. You do need to be, at that time, you needed some legitimacy so people can feel like there's a tangibleness, right? Mm-hmm. This new age that we're living in, baby, pick up the phone. Stop, don't wait on that email. Don't DM, watch DMs, because not a lot of people like a DM about any type of amplification. But mm-hmm. Here's the trick of the trade. Look at your community. I'm not talking about your neighborhood. I'm talking about whatever your community is, and find out who needs to be amplified. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee in 2013. Yeah. Moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and didn't know anyone. Knew a girl from high school who I hadn't seen since high school. Mm-hmm. I figured, let me start following people who I see got good things going on, good things, because I like good gossip. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm a good gossip about them. Hashtag sharing everybody's stuff. Well, my followers built up because that's all I did was share other people's events, other people's projects, other people's fundraising, other people's white, black, and green, other things. And of course I networked. I uptick myself to networking there, but I shared, because guess what? While you're sharing them, that doesn't mean they automatically need to share you, but you amplify your voice as someone in your business. So if you are a person who sews and you want to, shout out stylish people, I love that top. Go on their posts every day. Go on 20 people posts every morning. Tell them you love their top. That's the small game, right? On the big game, if you're moving ahead, you're making a little bit of money in your business and you're trying to amplify, listen, if you can't tell your story to everybody in every way, then you're not clear on your business. Meaning, if you can't call the Washington Post today and ask for the editor with your own mouth And every PR ain't good, because if your brand ain't set up right, you don't want PR. So I won't jump to PR without making it. I'll come back to that real quick. But you have to be comfortable in saying it, not just to the girl at the networking event or the guy at the networking event. You got to be comfortable in talking to the president about it. You got to be comfortable in talking to, and not just leadership, or to a banker about it. Mm-hmm. If the banker requires this type of knowledge, then you should already have it when you're talking to your girlfriend about it. Right. Get real comfortable with telling your story about the brand, not so much about your why. Your why will come up. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we don't want your why. Your why helps to put layers on the brand, but the brand has to be finite. They're going to ask you that question of, so what do you do? Mm-hmm. When I first started, I was doing events to get more noise about the PR I do, right? Because I knew, so I created something for Southern Black women. It was the Southern Women Expo. And but that wasn't going to be the only thing I was doing. I had the clients that I had. I was doing a couple different things too, that PR people do events all the time, especially back in the day. And so when people, instead of me saying, oh, I do PR, or I'm a PR professional, I would make my conversation intriguing, because I knew my story. I knew what I was offering. And so when someone would say, what do you do? I said, well, I create events for women to celebrate themselves, because I was specifically working for women at the time. And so they were like, wait, well, events? Okay, well, tell me more about that. And I said, well, right now we have a project we're working on called the So Woman Expo. It's happening in October. And then we're amplifying all of the folks, that are being featured on stage through PR and all these other tactics. It became a conversation. Oh, so you guys do PR? I say the PR and events. And that's when it was like, give me your card. Because they heard all of that great enticing conversation, but then at the end, the sale was PR and events. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you hear folks talking, about the multiple things they do, it seems convoluted. But if you tie that story well, and you put the two main things, what's the Big Mac of your brand out? McDonald's sell 40 things on their menu, 40 different things, probably 50. So don't let, I see folks talking about focus on one thing, do that one thing. Well, yeah, okay. But you can have 40 products. Yeah. You can have 40 products. You see what I'm saying?
You know what? This is okay. Because these are conversations these are things that you have to figure out during your entrepreneurial journey, or if you're building anything. So one, being comfortable enough that it just rolls off your tongue when somebody asks you, what it is that you do, or what's your brand. In my early days, I would get a little shaking my boots a little bit when people ask me that. But you have to get so comfortable about your brand that it's just second nature for you to talk about it. Because if you don't believe what you're selling, you're not going to be able to sell anybody else on it. And then the other thing that you mentioned was amplifying, and I like the word amplifying. I like that you're reiterating that, because that's what it's about. But not so much focusing on, okay, this is what I do, but showing people through action, through your platforms, through the events, and tying the story together. All those things are important, and things that you have to learn as you matriculate as an entrepreneur. So you just saying those things out. And I know that's going to be so helpful.
Your finance side is coming out. So, I've been doing it for a minute now. And so I can, but I've also been, because I'm somebody who likes to amplify other people and tell other people's stories and that good gossip. I've always had that gift of paying attention to what people say and hear. And so I could see if you heard what I said, and your finance side is allowing you to pull in things. That's why you're going to be successful, because your finance side is allowing you, so that, again, though it may have given you hives because of the culture you were in or what it was.
I learned so much.
Your management style is allowing you to receive and pull those nuggets out the way you are. See, a lot of times when you're in entrepreneurship, you're trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You're trying to do some other things. You're trying to eat. Look, I didn't see my mama for 2.5 years. Now she's dead and gone now, but I didn't see my mama for like 2 years because I was building this thing and on a budget. You know what I mean? It was like, I got time to be traveling, whatever. Now hindsight 2020, I would throw it back. I get a whole business away to see my mom again. And that's 100%. But what I will say is that in hearing you repeat that, that's a key nugget too. A lot of times we get in all this noise. And I used to be one too that, let me look for inspiration every morning. Let me post inspiration. Let me inspire myself. Right. But in reality of it is, now I'm about to get black versus white here. And shout out to everybody being on the call, no matter, or listening to this podcast, no matter what race you are. But right now I'm gonna talk to my sisters. We're privileged. I know. I had to catch myself. I was gone.
I feel you.
I was gonna be gone.
No, because I can relate, because I did the same thing. And like, my mom is still here, and we have these conversations where she's like, I want to see my daughters, why are y'all not around? And when you're young and you're getting it, you're just like, I gotta focus. And so many things can pass you. My siblings growing up, and it's just like, you just have to keep things in perspective too. So that's why it's touching me.
Listen, hindsight, I have two friends. One who was having some issues, relationship issues with her mom. And after my mom died, I was just like, let me just tell you something right now. Don't be me. I said, mad day came multiple times, me and my mama. We did not see eye to eye all the time. I said, but I promise you, I'm saving you from feeling like this. You know what I'm saying? And then running a business in grief, listen, whenever I get out of it, because I'm not out of it yet, obviously, right? And it's been 3 years. Whenever you run a business in grief, honey, everything changed. So all that you want to do, it ain't gonna be the same. It ain't gonna be the same anyway. So what I will say is love your minutes, which is my life mantra. And I know we jump, but love your minutes. Let me tell you something. When I started this entrepreneur journey, what got me through was God. You were having highs at the job. I was hyperventilating because I only had $80,000 in a pension, and that was supposed to make me last and build a business, right? And that $200 I borrowed from a friend came before I could get the 80 out of the account. Whoop, the whole storyline, right? And I remember having didn't know what anxiety, because I'm a little country girl, so I didn't know what anxiety attacks was.
Me either.
At 1:00 every day, I would go walking with my friends in the morning. So I was trying to work out. I would have a couple meetings, meet with some people in the morning. I was setting up my day. And by lunchtime, I was supposed to work on who I had worked for, if I had any, and then try to get new business. So it was random. I really didn't know how the business developed. I wasn't, maybe I just wasn't putting it together. And I would be anxious and feel like my chest is getting tight. And it was happening often, but this one day it was super tight. So much so I'm in a coffee shop and I'm saying it on the phone to my dad. And he was like, well, maybe you're working out too much. I was like, I was just walking though. That was this morning. And da-da-da-da-da. And then the coffee guy at the coffee shop that I sat at every day said, I should probably call an ambulance. And I was like, he said, because you're looking flushed. I was like, oh, Black people don't look flushed. What are you talking about? This man called the ambulance because I was really like now tearing up talking to my dad, and was like, I think I'm I'm doing the breathing wrong, right? He called the ambulance. I was like, oh God, I don't have any money for them. Like I still have to survive off of the meetings anyway. So I'm sitting on the truck. They're checking me out, and everything was normal. And he's like, you're probably having an anxiety attack. And it was a brother who said it. And I looked at him like, boy, ain't nobody got no anxiety. There ain't nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. What is wrong with you saying that? And then I paused, and then he did the pressure. I mean, I sat out there for like 45 minutes on the back of that truck and let them do all kind of stuff. And I was fine. He was like, you're not dehydrated. You're not this. And I was like, and so he was like, you just need to do some breathing exercise. Well, honey, I was fine. I slept well that night. I called the fam, told them what happened, all this other stuff. I slept well at night. The next morning, I came to grips that I am having anxiety attacks, like, right, Yeah. And then I think it was in that a couple of days, or if not that next day, I just was asking God to give me strength and praying to him. And the reality came is that you get to sit down and create your life, girl. And you up here worried. Worried. You worried. Who are you? You out here sitting down, breathing, eat every day, drive where you want, don't go nowhere, not obligated to no time. And you are worried. Yeah, you're not financially as focused as you were before, but you worried. No, you need to love your minutes. And it was all she wrote. And after that, I mean, every day, there's to the point where my sister's passwords are love your minutes. I have girlfriends I haven't talked to in forever. They post it every day. Literally, I use that hashtag and have been using it for so long. I got it trademarked recently. And it's the thing that has gotten me. So every time I'm, all over the place, because it happens. Business, just because you're making money don't make it do
this is a life.
It's gonna be you choosing that. But also what I was saying about Black girls is that we are privileged, and not in all the ways that I want to debate, not that. We're privileged in the fact that we're very creative. And I think we make it harder on ourselves sometimes. And I'm speaking for myself, and not being smarter. We want to win and control it and be successful. So we immediately think we're supposed to take all the muck that come with it. No, we're privileged. We don't have to take anything, right? So let's operate in a manner that it's easy. See, I didn't do that. I made it harder on myself than this buildup.
Same.
You know what I'm saying?
Same.
So the question becomes now at the stage that we are in business, is it easy for you to work on this account? Oh, it's not. Okay. So are I've had bad clients, good clients. I've had clients I knew was going to be trouble and I still took them, all of that. Right. But now, if you know that, do better. You know better, do better. So look for the easy route. Yes, because you're not obligated to amplify, grow anybody else other than your craft. So on your gift and your purpose. So if you're trying to build your business and you get to a project that looks like it's going to be hard and it's going to make it harder for your business long game, then that's not the project you want.
Yeah.
Or it's not the time right now. And because as you go to amplify, that's going to stress your amplification out. Because and that's another thing, if there's no opportunity for you to amplify your brand in anything that you're doing, if that's the product promotion or the product or the labeling, if you don't feel like it's going to truly amplify your brand, where somebody's going to say, oh, I want to go with that company that has the logo with the blue ink on it. I'm just getting down to
but see, that's a good point. I want you to dig a little deeper with that and talk about what really matters, because people get so caught up in, I gotta have an LLC, I gotta have my logo, it gotta be these colors, it had no glitter. Debates about all these things in entrepreneurial world, and none of that matters, right? So in your opinion, what matters when it comes to amplification? What matters
is, okay, and so we told you, if you can't find your gift and you can't figure out your purpose, go back to when you was in kindergarten, everybody asked you what you wanted to be, and start there, right? Now we're going to tell you, when you're in this thing and it's time to make steps from this thing to the next moves, the levels of entrepreneurship, what matters? It all matters, but it doesn't matter to the point that it's not going to get you to your end result. So now you got to know, what do I want to be at the end of your life? Now you go to the end of your life, right? And you say at the end of your life, when they put on your headstone, what is going to be on that headstone? And you work back, because if they would have asked me that, I would have told you, listen, there has been a lot of different things than we've seen today. It wouldn't have been this struggle that we got to today, right? So what is on that headstone? Are they going to talk about you making $1 million? Probably not. But they're going to talk about what, and work your way back. Work your way back to how you get to that point. And if it's family, if it's whatever, work your way back to how you get to that point. And it'll allow you to kind of pause in some of these things that you're spending a lot of time on. So yes, no, you don't want glitter. Yes, you want to be forward thinking and progressive. But do you want to make 10,000 changes on a logo because you're trying to prove a point, or you want to look like something else? Well, if you want to look like something else, then look like it then. Now, does that benefit you? Who knows? Understand positioning that's why brand comes before amplification. There's no reason to be amplifying something that's not branded.
Right.
So if you want to get in the weeds of the LLC, you want to be legal with the world. You may want to be legal especially when you're making some money, but that shouldn't hold you up from growing. It shouldn't hold you up from moving forward. Trademark, you want to get a trademark, but that should not hold you up. Don't make it harder. Don't make it harder on yourself by waiting. Procrastination has been the death of many. And when you get to the end, they're not going to ask you what you've done and what you've not done. You're going to know when you close your eyes what you've not done. And that will be how you will, end your life. I got COVID in 2021. 2020, I was great. I had the best COVID vacation. Money was, different. But I went and got a garden. I was coming outside sunbathing at noon every day. Life was good. Business was still working from home, all of that, keeping safe. 2021, we had a snowstorm. We got back out some kind of way. We got ill through my husband going back to work, and he got it. Whoop, the whole thing. Well, honey, I got it, and God was like, yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit worse. And I was in the hospital for 30 days, ICU, the whole shebang. So we knew we were prepared for. I mean, I had to make these phone calls from bed. Before and not when I got to ICU, I was not on the phone. But prior to, like when I first got there and they were giving me oxygen, 19 liters of oxygen, I was trying to handle my affairs from bed. And there were some things I didn't have in order because who knew, right? And I remember telling my lawyer friend, hey, I need you to write some things up. And I text a friend who owned a business similar to mine, and she lives elsewhere in New Orleans. And I said, hey, I have this many clients on my books. If you buy my company, I'll give my husband this amount of money. And he'll offload the office and all of this other stuff, but you can have at least make profit times 3 or 4 on what you buy it for. You see what I'm saying? Because that would make sure he would be straight in addition to what we had. And I remember her saying, what? And I'm texting this to her. She was like, what are you talking about? Like, what? It is like, I'm like, it is what it is. I had to make these moves already in that bed, worrying about, other folks. But rally came again. I had done nothing, honey. And it was that loving your minutes mantra I had been talking and taking moments and actually dwelling in. I hadn't done it right. I think I understood it. I understood it at its infancy, but not at what it really means. Loving your minutes is not so much that you don't work for anybody and you don't work for your business, but it truly is creating the life so that you can love the minutes you're in. If that's you're working, if that's you're enjoying yourself, your quiet time, if that's whatever, like everything. If I feel apprehension right now, there's somebody asking me to take on a client with them, and I'm hesitant on it. I'm hesitant on it because it's not following the process that I normally follow. And I had an incident like that before, and it went south multiple, like recently. And I was like, it didn't go south bad. Like we did great work, but it was bad stress for my team. It was stress for us. And it's the thing about it is that ain't loving your minutes. That ain't loving your minutes. And no, everything is not going to be perfect, but if you can mine through it, then you can get back to loving your minutes. But if you can't mine through it, and so I'm hesitant. So hesitancy tells me that it's not fitting my mode and that I'm forcing something. So it put my big girl's drawers on and said, oh, that's great money. However, I'm gonna have to pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what we have to do. And sometimes it's, hey, great money. Sometimes it's showing up. 80% of life is showing up. That's a nugget. 80% of life is showing up. It is not about what you got on, what you're wearing, if your hair done or not. 80% of life is showing up. You miss most of your wins when you don't show up. Keep that in mind. It's not about being a networking queen. It's not about taking a picture every time you're there, because I know folks like to do that. You can have more comprehensive conversations to help build your brand by being focused and off that phone. Just
look, you're dropping some jewels here. The one thing I want to add to what you're saying, because it's you keep saying create the life that you want to live, which is so important, right? But the other thing is, once you're in this life, for me, this is something that I struggled with. And I don't know if I'm through it, to be honest, but I'm very hard on myself as a Black woman, right? And you touched a little bit on it, on why we take the hard route. Right. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's going to be high times and low times. And what I take from what you're saying about, loving your minutes is living in the moment, because a lot of times I'm thinking about the next success, the next thing that I need to handle to get to the next level, to get to the end goal. And what happens is you're missing all of the moments in your life that are going to be special. They're never going to be here again. Right. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're on this track. It's not, I don't think people fall into the competitive mindset but with social media, and again, I'm speaking for myself. I'm very hard on myself and where I think I should be in life compared to, everybody else, or just the goals that I have for myself. Sometimes I'm sitting here like, okay, but this isn't enough. Or,
well,
you know what I'm saying?
let me give you this. People be saying tomorrow's not promised. Baby, the next minute's not promised.
Right.
So
right.
you can't be hard on yourself about where you should be if you ain't been grateful for what you got today. And in that present, like this moment is a thing. I'm happy that I get to sit here in front of my plants in my living room, out, not stressed in the office, being distracted by staff or anything happening, and have this conversation very openly with you, versus having to have it distracting. Because again, I think words are important. Words you say and words you write are important. And so those things become finite. That's why you got to watch what you say and and people don't write. That's why you don't be posting everything on social.
Right.
Every story ain't got to be told. And so knowing those things, that words are important, you want to say them right and be authentic to your spirit at any given moment. And loving your minutes, it seemed like a daunting task these last 10 years. It really did. It was like, okay, how can I love my minutes? I've definitely had some lows where I was just, oh my God, this is so bad. I mean, I've had those moments and where I didn't check myself and say, love your minutes. But post-COVID, post-2021, shout out to God, shout out to everything I got going on in me right now, that I'm able to stay focused on that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know. It ain't nothing external to myself, only in me, that my right mind says, you got this. Because Mojo, I love it. Grateful that I made that dream come true. Shout out to everybody, my teachers, my professors, all these folks, because I'm a talker, so I build great relationships. You know what I mean? But and I love people too. A lot of people don't have that full thing. But I love people. So I love good energy folks. And so all of these attractors have blessed my life. But at the end of the god doggone day, now that I've known what that looks like, if Mojo doesn't happen tomorrow and I'm writing books tomorrow or being a professor somewhere tomorrow, I've done a damn thing. And thank you to God.
Yes. That's so great. Okay, so we're gonna this is a good way to transition into my last question, and we're gonna get up out of here because I know we both got stuff to do, but this is what we need to be doing.
I went to the moment, honey. I was like, I know I should have had napkins up here playing around.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about some of the bad stuff that comes or in general, when you have a business or a brand, there might be angry customers. There might be, we see stuff on the Shade Room all the time, people going back and forth, whether they're a celebrity or influencer, whatever. What do you think the proper way is to handle negative fallout about your brand, whether it be an angry customer trying to put you on blast or, a competitor, having a back and forth on social media, whatever it is.
So this is what it is. You want to amplify. There's always an amplify. So tip number one, there's always a way to amplify. Always a way to amplify. And I'm not sure where my background came off. Sorry about that. Doing weird stuff over here on my computer. That there's always a way to amplify. That could be picking up the phone. I used to do sales calls at 3 or 4 o'clock and just call people I know and say, hey, just wondering if you know anybody who needs amplification. Or I didn't use the word amplification, needs PR marketing. This is my early days, right? But then I always protected my brand. So what I did today by deciding not to take on that client was protecting the brand. I have found great success in not putting Mojo everywhere and not being in certain positions or taking certain opportunities because that's not going to be a good look for the brand. You got to work. I mean, if you got to interview somebody, just like you would go to a job and they would interview you and you would interview them. When you start taking on that money, you got to interview them and interview you to see if you're going to get the end. If you're at the end of the day, and you can't always call it, the amplification is going to be good for your business. I don't take on clients that I know I can't do. Yeah, I don't take on clients that I know I cannot do. And I also don't take on anything that's not going to be a win for them and me. So I can make anybody win tomorrow. I can sit down and say in the next 24 hours, I'm going to pitch like crazy. And I'm going to call all my low hanging fruit and get you in 20 pages. Boom. and these can be national media, and I can do it and have done it, right? But the budget may not match that. So I'm not giving away essence because you pay me $1,000. I'm just not, right? And that's just in where I'm at in my piece, right? But long game, and I'm just saying that because again, the exposure you get from a national pub, I get no return on investment for that after that $1,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But long term, if you amplify, if you're amplified, but I'm not able to be like, hey, look, I got this for this person so that I can get more clients like that. It all needs to make sense. You have to protect your brand is what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
Protect your brand, not so much from people who are bad or bad clients. Protect your brand if it's a win or not. Is it a win? And your win is not just money. Unless the money is so good that it will get you capital to get more staff, to get more clients like that.
Yeah.
Right. So the win can't just be money. The win has to be amplification for the client to the point where they decide to stay with you for 3 years. The amplification for yourself to where your phone's ringing off the hook. And so that's a win. I think, again, let's not make it hard on ourselves and think, because we'll take anything. Because guess what? I used to take $200, $300. I used to take $400 for, I'll do that logo for you. And I had to pay the logo guy $300, $400, and I made $100. I used to set up advertising campaigns for people, and they'll go straight to the radio station or the TV station and pay them, but wouldn't give me my cut. But I did the whole plan. I'm the one, it's my rep. And the rep will call, they came and dropped the payment off. I just wanted you to know because you didn't get your cut out of it. There's a 15% referral. I'm just going to do this myself, but you wouldn't have known him, nor you would have gotten this information. So you wasted my time. You know what I'm saying? So I've taken the losses. Even on bigger clients, I've taken the losses. The reality of it is I want Black women to not just go after money, just to say, go after money. Make sure your skill set match up now, sis. Now, I'm not sitting here saying, go get the big checks and you ain't got it. Bring the heat. Even if you ain't got even if it's not you, add somebody to your team who got the skill set. You see what I'm saying?
It ain't always got to be you.
It ain't got to be you. It ain't got to be you. Yeah. Find out who's doing something just as well as good, and add them to your team for that project. And make the money. But protecting the brand is how you get away from these issues. I also, knowing your ideal client, we always try to define those things early on. I've had many clients go through the branding sessions and all of this stuff, but we don't marry to that. So you got to look at it like you marrying to your man. Your client just like you want a man who this and this and this, but sometimes you settle. Do you really? Do you really settle? You know what I'm saying? So my point is, do you really settle with something that you don't want? If you want them tall, dark, and lovely, do you really get them short, fat, and red? Now, there's nothing wrong with fat people. Shout out to us fluffy folks. But the point about it is, do you really go complete opposite? Maybe if something's good on a project, but you usually don't. Keep your ideal client in mind the way you would keep your man or your mate in mind, not just your man, your mate in mind. So that's something I feel like we lose, and thus we don't protect the brand. Protecting the brand is making sure it's the ideal client that you dreamed about at all times, or they're working towards it. Making sure there's a financial win. Making sure that you're winning on an amplification as well as them. And you may not even be in the amplification business. It may just be they ordered a catering food for me last minute, but that's my people because they always give me other clients. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Or it may be that she's ordering catering clients, but I'm gonna put on a good presentation for my clients and they're gonna love it because her food's always on point. That's a win. That's a win. That's a guaranteed win. But I think that's how you protect the brand. Now, when it comes to dealing with people, non-disclosures, non-competes, make clients sign them suckers, honey. You don't get to talk about my business. Because they want you to sign non-disclosure, not to share their business. So guess what? You're gonna sign one as I'm being a vendor on how we don't allow you to talk about our business. So we ain't got to worry about it at the end of the day if it's gonna be some pop-off stuff happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's it, my girl. That's
yes, you dropping all the jewels. All right. So this has been an amazing conversation. I'm so happy we had it.
I'm so glad we made it happen.
Yes, we made it happen. So is there anything that you would like to share with our audience to close us out? Any upcoming projects, anything you want to plug? any advice you want to give, this is the time for you to share that.
Awesome. Well, ladies, look, I'll say this, and gentlemen who may be listening, you only got but so much time. I appreciate you for taking the time to listen to us today, to us, just to see what you can learn, because you're already doing something for yourself. But the time you spend in fearing, you're wasting. There's no way that fear has any power. The time you right now, you're listening to us because you're looking for some more insight. Mm-hmm. You may be holding off doing something because of fear. You need to stay in purpose. Realize purpose is that big thing. And I'm not talking about this little aloof thing that you don't even know what it is. I'm talking about that thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, but you're putting all this stuff in front of it. And this is coming, me speaking to myself if I was just starting out. Mm-hmm. You're putting all this stuff in front of it because, okay, I'm not really wanting to deal with it. We are worthy and privileged to do it just that easy. Mm-hmm. Whatever it looked like, do it just that easy. It don't need all that extra stuff on it. You already had the vision. It didn't say you need to call your cousin, ask her to be in a business with you. It just told you you should be doing it. So I would inspire you at this moment to focus and do it on your own. And when it start looking like ain't nobody picking up the phone, call 5 other people.
You right.
Host a tea party. Hey, y'all, I want to do a nightcap with y'all. Everybody get a shot and jump on it, and use that as a time to get people to say it. So I'm going to leave y'all with this. I'm Monchiere Holmes Jones. I am Black-owned, woman-owned agency, full service out of Nashville, Tennessee, serving the U.S. and hopefully other places outside of the U.S. in the future. Main thing is that we're $1 million firm, and I built it from the ground up. And if you need somebody, give us a call.
Yes, and with that being said, I don't even need to add an extra word. Thank y'all for tuning in today. It was a phenomenal conversation. T and Monchiere signing out.